Hi everyone, welcome back to Advancing with Watercolor. This week we're looking at the subject of vignettes. What is a vignette and how can we create one? Do we even want to create one? I'm going to show you some examples. We'll start with a black and white study and then we'll get into a color version. There are more details down below in the description if you want further information. Anyway, let's pick up our brushes and get started. These are both interesting. So we play with the image, or we can play with the image while it's in this state, very plastic because it's wet, single color. We can manipulate that and attain a shape that's interesting. This is the sketch. And we'll put the little scrap paper up here for mid-value. And this is going to be done with a single color, neutral tint. We'll think about 3 values. So the white of the paper, which we will use in our vignette, the mid-tone, which is this value, nice dark value, strong mid-tone in today's painting, and a very dark value. Which will be used in smaller quantity on top of the mid value. So what we're doing in this exercise is just creating a value study. Adjust my light so it's start with the mid value. And okay, almost everything. We're not doing any detail at this point. We're just after the major shape, that big mid value shape. Trying to create something interesting in this shape. Some rises and falls that present some characteristics of a good shape. A bit of the same mid value extends towards the back. At this point, we're thinking of joining all of this, even the reflections. Block in the shape of a car and its reflection. Maybe another car back here, even a smaller car through here. Now that's a nice big shape. Look at how it fills out the paper. It's giving us a little variation in the sizes of the whites, which we can adjust as we move along. Interesting shape here, interesting shape here. I'm talking about the negative shapes. This shape is a little plain, simple. We don't have to make everything, interesting. But to show you what we can do to make it a little more interesting is put some ups and downs there. All right, so this is the foundation. Sorry, I'm kind of continue to adjust it, but I don't really need to do that. This is the foundation of the image and the foundation of a vignette, because we're using 4 various sized whites with interesting ins and out, interlocking edges. We're thinking about our subject in terms of a midtone. We're isolating some whites in that midtone, and after this we add some darks, to that midtone, perhaps to finalize the image. So say we want to put a car here and its reflection. Very simple idea of a car. Another one there, another one here. Say we want to put some brushwork later on, some little descriptive brush marks. We can do that. Of course, this is the sort of thing we want to do when it's fully dry. But I'm doing it now to kind of make that point that first midtone is, I think, at the essence of what we're trying to do. Quite abstract, and yet as we build it up, more of the subject comes out, more of the recognizable quality of our subject comes out, and we finish it that way. Same building, so we're going to make the reflection, I think, a little longer in this one. It comes here, and then chimney, rooftop, another building over here. A little bit of a sidewalk. This is a difficult part because we want to capture, well, let's just make it easier. We're going to flatten it out. And some car coming across about this size. Some reflection from the car, some reflection from building, distant building, distant car or cars. The thing I like about doing a vignette is that from the beginning I have to consider the design of everything, an interesting design. There are some, I would say sort of superficialities to the, or contrivances that make it seem artificial, unnecessary. But the end result is that very much we have to consider the design. How does this look on paper? How does it present itself? What can we exaggerate? There's many things to consider. So I'm looking for it to finish in an interesting way off the paper, to leave the paper in an interesting way. Let's go a little higher here. And carry this even higher. This is a chimney that comes off the side. So right away I notice that there is some evenness between the way it comes off the side of the paper. Is there some way that I can disturb that? Make it a little more interesting. So this width countered by that width would be certainly more interesting. So we'll try that. We'll try that. I need to come off perhaps at a different height as well. I can drop that building, make it a little lower. This is what I mean by design. And that proportion is a little better. It still works to give us a backdrop of buildings. This could also come up a little higher. So this is what I mean by, from the beginning, we're really considering the proportion of things and designing, placing, arranging, editing. Now here's a complex part because I want to show the car, right? Small car, but important because car gives it scale, really reminds us we're in the city. Some cars parked on the side. Thinking of doing one more even closer, just so I can make this reflection come down a little bit, thus disrupting the sort of equality that we have on either side. And then at some point I just say, well, it's pretty good, let's go with it and see what happens. And we will continue to design, in fact, even past this stage of drawing. Let's start to design with the brush. We'll start with just a yellow ochre. How about that? After we do a little cleaning in the most recent painting. We'll just start with some palette grays, or a little bit of warm gray. Clean up the palette at the same time. I'm using a 1-inch flat, and I've got a large mop brush too that I'm going to start with because that's going to give me some speed. Let's go see what happens. If we're starting light, there's still a lot of room for manipulation. Some nice hard edge shapes up there. And I hope that's what you're gathering from this, is I'm very much painting it as a shape. Thinking about, you know, how the shape is running off, how it's joined, how it finishes, but primarily an interesting shape. Leave some whites through here. We won't go all the way down here, just a little lower. See if we can evoke an interesting shape by bringing in this second car. First car, second car, smaller cars. So this is, I'm going to be rather plain. This is our first shape. Leaving the paper at two different widths, leaving the top, leaving the bottom in a couple spaces. Building up the midtone in this shape. I'm using ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. I'll be going back and forth between these two, I think. Oh. Burnt sienna. A bit of ultramarine blue. All right, let's go. Important part of this painting. So I'm taking a little care, looking for that nice peak. Let's carry some burnt sienna into this. Another important edge. Get it to run down a little bit. Right. Just carry this up here. A little bit of perspective. And put in some stronger color below. While it's wet, you know I love to do this, adding some rich color. Look, I'm taking it right out of the well there, adding it into this lower section. Gotta be a little mindful of the edge. For the moment. That burnt sienna. I mean, it's perfect for brownstones. Let's design some windows here. You don't have to follow anything in particular. A little bluish gray. We can put a little lavender in because it's such a nice color in tandem with our burnt sienna. Yep. A little bit of a smaller brush. Give it a little bit of elegance. Let's just keep on. Carry that all the way to the right. Interesting shape, interesting shape. Interesting finish. And well within the character of this building, I should add. I like that. While it's wet, more this burnt sienna along the bottom. We can put some ultramarine blue too.
Windows are a little big. Okay. Adding color on the fly. Oops. I'm gonna go just a little darker, I think. All right, let's continue to the left. I want to get a feeling of atmosphere, so we need some contrast. little break in that edge. I don't mind the color to move around a bit. Still, we have to imply that this is a rainy day. Right? So someplace we have to dissolve the color, let it seep out like we're doing here. That gives us the illusion. Wondering if we can do that a little bit here too. I'm adding a little water. I'm going to take a paper towel and pull straight down. See if I can lift some of that out of there. And I'm going to take this nice flat, a little more darker color here. Some Payne's gray, why not? That's dark. Oops. Hmm. All right. And take some of the same dark color and introduce it back here a little bit. Just so it's connected somewhat. Love my spray bottle. Right. breaking up that area a little bit. Let's dry it off again. Let's let this dry. I'll try one more thing. Take off a little bit of paint if we can. Yeah, we can do that when it's dry too. Yeah, so let's dry this off a bit. Our vignette. And make sure I'm still recording. No. Make sure I'm still recording. Okay. What do I want to do? Off with our brush here. What might that be? This might be the dividing line in the road. Nice angle. Flat brush, little water. Break up that dark a little bit. We can also paint the line, right? We can paint it. And it becomes something interesting. All right, I'm ready to do some calligraphy. For that, I want a dark. I'm going to use my ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, but much thicker and on dry paper. So hopefully we get that sort of bouncy line that I like. I think it makes the image look good. Sort of bouncy line. Through here. Paper's a little wavy, it's okay. Something like that. You can do a little bit of a balcony that we have here. Yeah. A little dark window perhaps below. I'm not even really taking care to line up the windows. So I put the image away. I'm not looking at the image anymore. I'm kind of painting by the seat of my pants, having fun. Put a little light here. That matches up this pretty well. We're going to put one here too. Some wheels in the car here. Using my powers of imagination. Thought they might be a little stronger than that. My imagination, I mean. Maybe we'll tell the story on this one with the headlights. Let's do a vague, soft line in the background. Some more roof lines. Bringing our building to life a little bit. This is a little too rigid for me. I don't know if I can lift it or not. I'm going to try. Take some clean water. I would like a little more atmosphere up here. That means if I can soften this somehow, make it fade away into the white of the paper, I'll be happier. Will it do that for me? Slightly. We can also beef up the top of this cylinder building. You know, I'm not getting an answer to my problem, so I'm not going to deal with it right now. I'm going to ignore it. I think that's fine. More detail there. I'm going to go somewhat darker. No, that's I'm going to leave that as it is. Or I paint highlights. I want to give it a little more of a dark reflection here. Well, let's just put in a couple highlights, shall we? Then we will step away and adjust some of the lights that we have going now. Now, I like what happened to that chimney a little bit, making it a little blurry. I'm going to try that over here too, just a little water on the tops of this over here, and take my paper towel, pull it down, blur it ever so slightly. A vignette, still very much a vignette, proportionally meeting the side in different ways. Connection top to bottom. Some highlights. That was my last sentence. Try a couple highlights. Done with opaque white. Good, because I almost have to go to the bathroom. So for example, here, put a little highlight here. Here as well. Big one here. This will go up as well as down. That makes it feel a little more wet. I lost an edge here to my sidewalk. I'm going to connect it now. Maybe a little bit of a shiny edge here. So the roof line is getting some moisture. A little back highlight on the side of the car as well. Okay. Some red. Red to the... Where's my red? Bright red. Maybe I can just take it from here. Take some red. I have this bright cad orange red. I think out of the tube it's always a little more effective. But we'll get the sense of what it's going to look like.